All right, y'all. In today's video, I want to do something a little different. This is only, I think, the second or third video I've done from this camera view where I am showing the full computer screen, but we're going to be reacting to ESPN's top 25 under 25 this year for the NBA season. And this list came out yesterday as y'all watched this video. And I have seen the list on Twitter and thought there were some interesting selections. Let's just put it that way. We're going to react to the list, talk about who's too high, who's too low, and what we think of the list as a whole. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. Number 25 is Bilal Coulibaly, which I think is a pretty fair spot. Just off the top of my head, I'd love to know the guys they left off this list, but I do think Bilal Coulibaly has been really, really good. And I feel like 25 is probably fair. Wouldn't be surprised if next year he's several spots higher. I know he's still not shooting the three ball very well. 31% from three, about on 3.2 attempts a game. But everything else is great. His efficiency from two has gone up significantly this year. His finishing has improved. His passing has improved without his turnovers going up too exponentially. He's rebounding the ball really solidly. He's scoring at a higher level. I get the Wizards aren't good, and I get that his efficiency isn't great, but it's better than it was last year. He's shooting the free throw even better, which is nice. I mean, like, that's not the most important thing in the world, but his true shooting has gone from below average to right about league average this year, and I feel like he's playing really solid basketball, and he's really good defensively as well. That's probably the best part about Bilal, is how versatile and how talented he is in the defensive end of the court. I think he's going to be a good NBA player for a long time, and he's improving, man. I think, like Bontemps says, you could easily make leaps with this list next year. Tari Eason at 24 is probably too low. He is playing amazingly high-level basketball this year. Defensively, he's been incredible. He has the best defensive rating, as ESPN points out in Basketball References plus minus, in the NBA right now. He's playing phenomenal basketball. He's playing really just super versatile skill set, as well as like a wing who can guard. Very, very versatile. He has a lot of size. Still not shooting the three great, but he's got a solid shot. Shoots the free throw pretty well. Efficiency has again increased a good chunk this year, especially from inside the arc, which is again very important. Love to see that. His scoring has gone up. The defense is super impactful. He's doing it in pretty low minutes. Playing super duper high level basketball right now. Big believer in Tari Eason personally. I think he's having a great year, and I think he's really, really good. I'd probably have him a spot or two higher on this list, to be totally honest. Dyson Daniels, I'll be completely honest. I really like Dyson Daniels as a player, but the shooting hasn't gotten there yet. Now, keep in mind, this list is ranked by future potential. That's kind of the point of this video, or of this list, I should say. So it's not just based on how good they are right now, but it's projecting how good we think they'll be. The thing is, if Dyson Daniels develops a good jumper, he is going to be an incredible player. I just have a tough time wondering if the shot's going to come around, because defensively, he's already as good as any defensive guard in basketball. He's a legit first-team All-NBA defender. Like, that's how good he is on the defensive end of the court. I just am honestly not totally sure how much that matters if the shot never really comes around. That's my biggest concern with Dyson Daniels, is the inability to shoot the ball at a super high level. If he was shooting the ball better, I'd be a big Dyson Daniels defender. But realistically, as is, it's hard to super defend a guy who's not an elite level offensive player. And without a good jumper, that's kind of what he is. Now, the same can be said, to be fair, for Amin Thompson. You know what I'm saying? Now, the shot is also, I feel like, in a similar issue. And the other thing is, Dyson Daniels is what? I think he's in his third or fourth NBA season, but he's still very young. Sorry, I believe it's only his third season. Yeah, he's in his third season. Amin Thompson's in his second. He's actually younger than Amin Thompson. Like, he has time to develop. So you do have to keep that in mind, because Amin Thompson has the same issue when you think about the numbers. The thing about Amin Thompson is, I truly believe his playmaking is at a very high level. Only 2 assists a game so far this year, but he's a really good passer. Now, I wish the assist to turnover ratio is better, but the rebounding is there. The versatility defensively is at a very high level. The efficiency is elite as a finisher. Similarly to Dyson, the jumper hasn't come around, but I'm not certain that he's not even a more impactful player than Dyson Daniels is as an overall versatility basketball skill set wise, because I think he's more offensively polished overall. Now, at this point, he's just him and Tari Eason of the Terror Twins. They're coming in and wrecking havoc on NBA defenses and playing really well. But thinking about it with the way this list is, I don't hate it. I just think Amin Thompson's ceiling is really high. Like, I would have him a little higher on the spot list, probably just because the ceiling is so high. Now, here we get to a guy who's realistically more so closer to that ceiling, which is Tyler Hero. The thing about Tyler Hero is he is the best offensive player on the Heat right now. And it's not even close. I mean, comparing him to all the other names that have been on this list so far, he is much more of a proven commodity who has been a high-level player on a finals team twice, although I guess he wasn't a contributor to the second finals run. You have to keep that in mind. But the efficiency offensively is elite. He's playing really, really high-level basketball. Another thing that I like a lot is the assists continue to go up. The turnovers, I guess have gone up a little bit this year, but overall are still at a very decent rate. Basically 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio for a guy who's not even really a true PG, but is playing a lot more of that role is great. And when you're shooting a career high on threes on a career high attempts and a career high probably defensive attention, there's not a stat for that, I don't think, but he's playing elite level basketball. He really is. I have a hard time. Look, this is a talented list, but he's got Jalen Green above Tyler Hero. Be totally honest with y'all, I know Jalen Green's 2 years younger than Tyler Hero. I would have Tyler Hero over Jalen Green right now. Jalen Green is, you do have to recognize the impressive things that he is capable of doing. I guess he's not even 23 years old yet. It's hard to write off a guy who's this young. That's the best part about everybody on this list is their youth. But dude, Jalen Green is just not playing all that well. I don't think as a whole. He started off the season so well. First 5-6 games of the season, he's shooting over 40-something% from three on like 12 attempts a game. Since then, he's below 30%. He's down to 32, almost like a little lower than that for the season. The assist to turnover ratio is basically even, which is a step backwards from last season. He's still a shot chucker. He doesn't shoot the right shots. He's not an elite level playmaker, and he doesn't show a ton defensively either. I get he's a super talented player, but the NBA is a super talented league. Jalen Green to me would be a couple spots lower on this list, to be completely honest. I'm not loving what I'm seeing right now. Derek Lively is averaging 9 and 7 on unbelievable efficiency. He has been amazing. He's a really good defender, very competitive on the defensive end of the court. Never gives up on a play. High motor offensively and defensively. Elite level athlete. I mean, this text says Lively has the defensive instincts and mobility to be a top tier rim protector in time. He's already there at times, not all the time, but he is a really impactful player. I understand the scoring numbers for him aren't on the level of any other player on this team or on this list so far, I should say, but the efficiency is incredible. He's playing elite basketball, finishing at a super high level around the rim for the second year in a row, rebounding really well, blocking shots, defending his butt off, and playing even a little bit better than he did last year overall, I would say, per minute. And look, he plays his role perfectly. He plays less than 24 minutes a game because he plays next to Daniel Gafford, who's also a really good big. Those two guys play in perfect tandem. At the end of the day, y'all, Derek Lively on a bad team is probably 16 and 10. You know what I mean? Maybe he's 14 and 11. I don't know, something like that. Derek Lively on a bad team is a really good player statistically. I mean, he's already not a bad player, but the role for him is different than it is for anybody else in this team. And yet I kind of think he's probably pretty much perfectly placed. I wouldn't mind putting him below Amin Thompson, I guess. But if he ever develops a three ball, again, remember, Derek Lively is 20. This kid is going to be really good for a long time. I'm so glad he's a Mav. Let's just put it that way. Jalen Suggs, really good year so far, honestly. I think Jalen Suggs, honestly, might be one of the more underrated guys in the league. I mean, he got paid $150 million. I think a lot of people saw that and were like, Jalen Suggs, $150 mil. I get the shooting isn't great. It's a little better for the career anyway. Really good last year, not as good this year. I think he shoots some bad shots sometimes, especially with Paulo out. Now, the Magic have been really good even with Paulo out, and Jalen Suggs is a big part of that. I wish the three ball was a little more consistent, but I think teams respect him as a shooter, and I think that'll go up a little bit as the season progresses. He's shooting more threes and tougher threes than I think he ever has in his NBA career. But dude, he's turned into a really good player. After a really bad rookie year, on admittedly a very bad Magic team where he was exceedingly inefficient. And last year, which was definitely a big improvement over his first couple of years, I feel like this year's been the year that has really established Jalen Suggs as a really good player. He's a guy, I think, I'm not kidding, I think he'd be a starter. Not even just a starter. I think he could be the 4th best player on a championship team. Like maybe today. Jalen Suggs, really good player. I wish the shooting was better, but he's not. I don't mind 18. I think he's really good. Jalen Johnson is the best player on the Hawks right now. I don't want to hear Trae Young. I truly believe Jalen Johnson's the best player on this team. He's averaging a 20-point double-double, and he's doing it with a non-shooting center on the court. He's a very capable shooter in his own right. Just really versatile skill set. Overall, like does a lot of things really well. And I think there aren't very many guys who are as versatile as Jalen Johnson is while averaging basically 10 rebounds a game. Playing really well at the power forward position for the Hawks this year. They list him as a small forward. He's more of a power forward, but he's playing really good. No doubt about it. Zion. I don't know, man. It's interesting because they make the note. He's been in the top 10 ever since 2019. He's getting older. He's almost, his body's not the body, I feel like, of most NBA 24-year-olds. To be totally honest, like he's out of shape. He is. And it's like, for his career, he has been. And I know that's an overused criticism, but it's also a true criticism. You know what I'm saying? And so, look, I don't dislike Zion. I think he's a super duper great player when he's healthy, but he has serious injury issues. And I worry about the longevity of his skill set considering he is so reliant on his physical gifts and his athletic ability. Super talented player, incredibly gifted athlete, but you gotta hope he gets healthy and can stay healthy. If he can do that, he has the potential to still finish much higher than this spot on this list. When it all is said and done on these players' careers and you rank their careers, would not be shocked if he's higher than 16, but he's got to stay healthy, plain and simple. Brandon Miller at 15 is averaging almost 21, 5 and 4, like very solid year. Playing really, really well. He's pretty distinctly, I think right now, still probably the second best player in his draft. And he's playing really solid. Like, I think Brandon Miller is not maybe getting quite enough credit because he's on Charlotte, but people do talk about him. Now, the efficiency, I don't love the fact he's below 45% from inside the three-point line. I think he's on a bad team that has very little help, especially with all the injuries the Hornets have had to start the year. Both their centers have been out. They've been playing Musa Diabate and Taj Gibson all the center minutes. Grant Williams is actually playing pretty good for them, but he's out for the year. LaMelo's out now. Like I think his numbers have taken a hit because of the supporting cast to a certain extent, but he's on a bad team, and I think he's putting up decent numbers. I mean, shooting 36% on almost 11 attempts a game from three on this team is unbelievable, like really impressive, to be totally honest. I'm a big fan of what Brandon Miller is able to do as a whole. I think he's a very solid player, and I have realistically, honestly, no issues with him being around 15 on this list. I think he's a very good player. Darius Garland at 14 is one of the best players right now, probably on this list, arguably the second or third best player on a title contender in the Cavs. The Cavs are really good. Darius Garland is a big reason why. For a guy who started his career with a very bad rookie year and just didn't look like he was going to be a great player. I mean, the efficiency looking back isn't quite as bad as I remember it being, but I'm not going to sit here and say he was a good rookie. I remember him distinctly not being. But the last couple of years have been really solid, and I think he plays his role perfectly. He's playing less minutes per game this year, but the efficiency is career high across the board, playing incredible basketball, shooting the ball incredibly efficiently. He's a very capable passer, doesn't turn the ball over a ton, especially for how good of a passer he is. Really, really solid player. The turnovers are, 2.4 a game right now, averaging almost 7 assists. Is not bad at all. That's a really good ratio. I think he's having himself a good year, and the efficiency shooting the ball especially puts him over the top for this year. I think 14 is just probably pretty fair. Like, that seems about right. But I don't know. I don't mind Darius Garland. I think he's in a pretty fair spot right here. He's having a really good year. Cade Cunningham at 13 is too low. I will continue to stand on the fact that Cade Cunningham is legitimately one of the most promising bright young stars in this entire league. People do not give him enough credit, and it's because he plays in Detroit, but the dude is averaging 23, 7, and 9 on a pretty bad team that is overperforming this year. He's doing it super efficiently, especially for the role that he plays. Like, he's playing great. His true shooting is only 54%. How does that math work? What? 37% from the field, 44% from three. I guess the 2-point efficiency isn't good enough, but he's 80% from the free throw line. I'm shocked that's only a 54% true shooting. That's not as good as I anticipated. I still think he's a really good player. I'm going to stand by my take on Cade Cunningham. The efficiency is getting better, especially from three. That's nice to see on let's say over 6 attempts a game. His supporting cast still isn't incredible. He turns the ball over too much. That'd be my biggest criticism, but he's averaging 9 assists a game, which at least that part is good. And the best part about Cade Cunningham to me is that he's a really good two-way player as well. I think his defense is super underrated. Every time I watch the Pistons, I'm impressed by how much effort and intensity he plays on the defensive end of the court. Not a lot of superstars do that, especially these superstar guards. Like, I would take him over probably every single point guard defender on this list, except for, I guess, Dyson Daniels to this point. But Dyson Daniels is not on the level of Cade Cunningham as a player, obviously. So 13 feels low. I'm going to be honest. And 12 feels low for LaMelo, too. I'll be totally honest with you. I like Scotty Barnes. I don't know if I'd have him over both those guys. We'll go through the rest of this list. There's a couple other guys, I believe, that I don't know about. But LaMelo and Cade, I feel like, should be right back to back. Like, I don't even really care which order you have them in. I would probably have LaMelo over Cade right now because he's a better shooter. But I mean, overall, the thing is, Cade's shooting from the three has actually been better than LaMelo's this year. Now, LaMelo has the same Brandon Miller issue where he's been playing without a ton of his teammates this year on a bad team, and yet he's playing very, very well. What's his true shooting at compared to Cade? It's at 56. So he's a little better true shooting than Cade is overall. I mean, he's played really well. Obviously, he's injured right now, but he, again, feels like he should be on the top 10 of this list. He's a legit superstar caliber player, and the fact that he's not top 10 feels a little bit disrespectful to LaMelo Ball because he's a really, really good player and playing super high level basketball on, again, a bad team. Like, Scotty Barnes, good player, but Scotty Barnes, number one, he's not, maybe I just value the point guard position and the shot creating type guys who can also be playmakers at a high level like LaMelo and Cade. Scotty Barnes does give you playmaking, right? Like, I don't want to hate on him. Last year, he was really, really good. 6 assists a game, 2.8 turnovers. This year, he's up to 7 assists a game on 3.4 turnovers. So assist to turnover rate is pretty similar to Cade's, about 2 to 1. Which, I mean, that's good. He's averaging over 20 this year, averaged almost about 20 this year, or this past year. 27% from 3 this year isn't good enough. 34% last year, also not ideal. I just don't know how, honestly, you look at these stats and you strongly believe that he is the, I don't know. To me, I would rather have Cade Cunningham overall. And I think I'd rather have LaMelo. Like, both of those guys I personally would rather have right now than Scotty Barnes. I'm not trying to hate on Scotty Barnes. I think he's a really good player, but if they moved him down 2 spots on this list, that would be totally perfect for me. Alperen Sengun at number 10. Look, I wish the defense was better. That's my biggest thing. When I watched him on the Rockets, I'm not like super impressed defensively, but I think he doesn't shoot a ton of threes, but I expected his 3-point efficiency to get a little bit better, I guess. 25% from 3 this year is not cutting it. I guess 26, but it's not great. The 2-point efficiency as well has gone way down this year. Now, I think that's going to go back up. And so if we're going to criticize something about Sengun, that could be the thing from this year that's like, oh, that's kind of glaring. But he's averaging 19 and 11, and for the career, the last couple of years, 57%. He's going to be fine, I would think. If we look at the end of the year and it's got still down below 50%, that's a little concerning because what changed? You know what I'm saying? But as long as he gets back to that efficient level of finishing, he's a legit 20 and 11 guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's legitimately who he is as a player. Super talented, super versatile big. They call him Jokic Light for a reason. He does a lot of things really well. Another guy who passes the ball well, doesn't turn it over a ton. Really good playmaker for a big. Very talented. I don't really mind 10. Again, I probably would have him below LaMelo and Cade. But that's debatable. Again, it's opinion, so keep that in mind. Number 9, J-Dub, Jalen Williams. Is Jalen Williams really, like, if the Charlotte Hornets called the Oklahoma City Thunder, no, let's say the Oklahoma City Thunder called the Charlotte Hornets tomorrow and said, we'll trade you Jalen Williams for LaMelo Ball. I have a hard time believing they're going to say yes, to be completely honest with y'all. LaMelo's actually younger as well than Jalen Williams is, despite having been in the league 2 years longer, I believe. And look, J-Dub is a great defender, and he's playing very, very well offensively. He's a legitimately very efficient player. Like, I think he's a really, really good player who does a ton of things at a very high level. Like, a lot of things. He's a great passer. He's shooting the 3 ball super well. Was great at shooting the ball last year as well. Very, very skilled player. Versatile, really high level defender. Creates a lot of turnovers, a lot of mismatches, a lot of just issues for teams in the defensive end of the court. And the efficiency is great, man. I mean, you look at the numbers, they're hard to argue with. I feel like if he wasn't with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, it might be a little harder. He's in that situation. You do have to weigh a player's situation a little bit at times. I think J-Dub, with last year with a healthy Chet all year, with Shai, with all the other talent on that Thunder roster, yes, Chet is out. I feel like I don't want to take away from him, but he's not in the same situation that LaMelo Ball and Cade Cunningham are in, is basically my point. My personal opinion still would probably have LaMelo, Cade, then I would probably go J-Dub, Sengun, Barnes. That's just my opinion. Again, I'm arguing my case. You could even say the same for Evan Mobley. The defense is on the same level where he's elite. Offensively, he's really good. Maybe I'm just overvaluing Cade Cunningham and LaMelo Ball, but as I look through this list, I go, I think I'd rather have all those guys. Maybe it's just my theory. I feel like you need a really good point guard who gives you a lot of do-it-all skills to really be an elite level team. Like, I guess you don't need it, but it's really, really helpful to have a initiator who's a great offensive player. And I think that's something that helps a lot of teams, especially when they're bigger guards. And so I don't know, maybe I'm not valuing players exactly right, but Evan Mobley doesn't feel to me like, I think he's probably the third or fourth most important player on the Cavs overall. Now you could make an argument for second. He's having a good year, but the efficiency from 3 isn't great. He's an inside big for the most part still, shooting the 3 a little bit more and a little better this year, but still not great. The efficiency inside the 2-point line is improved, which is nice. Although I will say it's actually a little bit down this year. But he is playing well offensively overall. A little bit more opportunities shooting the ball this year, which I think has contributed more to the increase in scoring than him actually playing like significantly better. But I like the fact he's stretching the floor a little bit more. I think he's a very, very good player. If I was picking to start a franchise right now, I can't sit here and tell you that the guy that I'd be picking would be Evan Mobley out of the group we've talked about so far. Again, I'd probably move him a couple spots down. That's just me. I might even move J-Dub over Evan Mobley personally, but I think that one's close. Tyrese Maxey at number 7. I don't have an issue with Tyrese at number 7. The question is, this is where LaMelo Ball and Cade should have been, because this is the debate to me. Tyrese Maxey, LaMelo Ball, Cade, those are the 3 young elite point guards in the league, or in the East, with the exception of one guy who we're about to talk about. I want to talk about him. I just made a video on him yesterday, but y'all can know. I'm sure y'all know who that is. But Tyrese Maxey for the career is much more efficient than he's been this year. Now he's been the target of defenses a lot more this year. Don't think he's played incredibly well, to be fair. I think his efficiency will go up a bit as the year progresses, though. Really, really high level scorer, super versatile off the dribble player. My honest truth is I don't think he's quite the playmaker that Cade or LaMelo are, though. Offensively as like an initiator, not just a scorer. And honestly, I think LaMelo might be better as a scorer as well, although not quite as efficient overall, especially from the three-point line. But I don't know, man. Tyrese Maxey's a really good player. This is the spot where I would go Cade, LaMelo, Tyrese in some order. I don't know what that order would be, but I think you basically move everybody else down a little bit to maybe move J-Dub up a spot or keep them about the same to account for that move shift down. And then I'd probably have LaMelo, Cade, Maxey in that order, in my opinion. But number 6, the one player on this list that is like, what are we doing? Why is he here? I guess I'm a hater, but dude, Tyrese Halliburton, since the first 2.5 months of last season, like this text talks about, he hasn't been good for the past nearly season at this point, in all honesty. He was bad in the Olympics. I know he didn't play much, but he was bad in the playoffs. He wasn't good in the second half of the season last year. You're telling me, look, maybe this is a hot take. I would put Tyrese Halliburton right here. 14-ish. 6 feels really high for a guy who's not a high-level defender and doesn't seem to be beating guys off the dribble all that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, he struggles against switches against centers, I feel like, in a lot of ways. He's a great passer and a great playmaker, but he's not a great defender. He's not supremely athletic, and the honest truth is he's just not shooting the ball very well. And look, will the shooting probably go up a bit? Yes. Is it disrespectful to say that you're more of a Darius Garland level player, though? I don't think so. That's still a really good player. I just think they've gassed Tyrese really high for how he's played the last year. It's not really a small sample size at this point. And look, maybe I will be wrong and he will go back to being that player. I just have a hard time that he's going to sustain that level of play for seasons at a time throughout his career, which is kind of what he needs to do to be better than guys like Cade and LaMelo, in my opinion. Same thing with Tyrese Maxey, to be honest. Number 5, Chet Holmgren. I think this is the perfect spot for Chet. I honestly think you could argue him a spot or two higher even if you wanted to. I don't think I'd put him lower than this, though. There are very few players in basketball that provide the two-way versatility on the interior as a big man as Chet does. A guy who can space the floor, a guy who can score off the dribble, a guy who can shoot at a decently high clip, is a super, super athletic, versatile guy, and a great rim protector, and obviously a very, very versatile, just super skilled player, shooting almost 38% from 3 this year. Now, I understand he didn't play much, but in the games he played, he was playing incredible, was kind of trying to make a defensive player of the year case for himself. I got to say, this injury is a shame because it's the second major injury of his career already. And he's supposed to be in his 3rd season. He's in his 2nd because he didn't play at all his rookie year with his Liz Frank injury. And now he has another huge hip pointer fracture that clearly has him out for a while and has him seriously injured. Very concerning injury. By the way, I realize this video is going on for a long time. I hope y'all are enjoying it. I'm just talking about basketball. But at the end of the day, Chet Holmgren is, look, very, very talented player, supremely high ceiling. The health is the biggest concern. If he's healthy, he's going to be like almost not generational, but a truly elite caliber player for a very long time. I am very, very high on Chet Holmgren. Franz Wagner. Would I put Chet over him if Chet was fully healthy? Probably. Am I fine with this ranking? Yes. Franz is having an incredible year. He's still only 23. He is shooting the ball really, really well to this point in the year, especially recently. He's averaging a ton. I think he's averaging over 26 a game while starting and averaging over 6 assists. And I mean, he's doing it while also not turning the ball over much more at all, with the increase in passing this year, over 2 more assists per game, but only a 0.4 increase in turnovers per game over both last year and his career. He's shooting the ball better than he has his entire career. Well, last year anyway, although the shooting has gotten worse as of late. The 3-ball shooting in the last few games hasn't been as good as it was to start the year. Still think he's playing really well. This is one of those where realistically a healthy Chet is put over him. If you wanted to argue a couple other guys over a long term, you probably could, but he's actually a really solid 2-way player. He plays defense. Like, I think Franz Wagner is a good player. I think he's a really good player. I don't have a huge problem with this ranking, to be honest. He's really proven himself, and he's been the best player on a team that's won like 10 of their last 11 games, or maybe 11 to 12. The Magic are playing great right now, and Franz is a huge reason why. Paulo Banchero at number 3. As good as the Magic have been without Paulo, I don't mind this ranking at all. For a guy who literally looks like the closest thing to LeBron James that we have in the league now, he is not going to be half the player career-wise that LeBron was in all likelihood. But averaging 39 and 6 is a good way to do it. 5.5, whatever you want to say. The shooting should improve a bit as his career progresses. He may not ever be like a super duper way above average 3-point shooter. LeBron, for most of his career, wasn't either, though. The last couple of years have been almost an anomaly as a shooter. He's always been a fine shooter, but he was never like the best shooter in the league. Paulo's not going to be either, but he's an exceptional athlete. He's a very high level scorer. He is a 3-level scorer. Is he a perfect offensive player? No. Has his finishing around the rim improved a lot this year, and therefore his efficiency as a whole? 100%. Would love to see him shoot the free ball a little bit more, or the free throw a little bit better. Again, LeBron light in a lot of ways. Not an elite shooter, not an elite free throw shooter, not perfect as a player efficiency wise at times, but a very impactful elite level player. All those, either way. And look, if he averages anything close to 30 over the next few years, third is the perfect spot for him. Let's just put it that way. He is an amazing player. Anthony Edwards at number 2 and Victor Wembanyama at number 1. I don't think this is ever going to be a surprise to anybody. When you think of the best players under 25, now that Luka is 25, I guess actually, is Luka 25? Yes, I think Luka is 25. I should know. He's my favorite player. I feel like he might be turning 20. No, I think he is 25. Regardless, Anthony Edwards at number 2 is the logical choice. The guy who made the conference finals last year is playing incredibly high level basketball. You could criticize the Timberwolves' kind of mediocre start to the season all you want, but it's not Anthony Edwards' fault. Let's just put it that way. That dude has played amazing basketball. 45% from the field, over 43% from 3, or almost 43%, I should say. The efficiency is by far the best of his career in the biggest role of his career. He's playing amazingly well and doing so with a lot of stress on his shoulders, both offensively and even defensively. Like, he's playing defense really well too. And I think is one of the more, he's super hyped by the mainstream media, and yet he's showing why he deserves it this year at an even higher level than I expected that he would individually. It'd be nice to see the Timberwolves winning a little more based on what last year was, but they're still one of the better teams in basketball realistically. And if they can get things figured out, they're going to be really, really good still. And Anthony Edwards is a huge part of why. He's the best player on a team that is supposed to be one of the best teams in basketball. They're not quite there right now, but they're playing really well. Or they're not playing really well. Ant, though, is playing really well. And if the Timberwolves get it together, they're going to be really good. And Ant is a huge, huge reason why. Number 1, though, Victor Wembanyama. Is this a shocking choice at all? No. He's the best defensive player in the sport. He is, or I should say the most impactful anyway. He is a ridiculously high level shooter, especially as of late. I saw a stat on Twitter, last 11 or 12 games, something along those lines. He's shooting 40-something% from 3 on 10 plus attempts a game at 7'3". Now, can you make the argument he should shoot more inside? Sure. He's shooting 62% on 2s and 35% on 3, and much better than that since a rough start to the season, averaging 24 and 10. And he's 21 years old, and he's 7'3", and he's the most impactful defensive player in the sport already. Elite efficiency. He is playing stupidly high-level basketball on a team that really is not great. Now, they're better this year. Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul helped. Stephon Castle was a great addition from the draft. Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell are still solid players. Like, they're better this year, but they're not a great team. And Wemby is making them super competitive on a night-in, night-out basis. They're a play-in contender this year in the West, and a large portion of it is because of how dominant and how good Victor Wembanyama is. If you have anybody else but him at the number 1 spot, I really don't know what to tell you. He's 20 years old. He's about to turn 21, and he's an incredible player. I have no issues whatsoever with him, number 1. Real quickly, I know this has already been 28 minutes, but guys like Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin, Trey Murphy, Cam Thomas were considered. Honestly, all 4 of those guys could have an argument over a guy like a Jaden Dyson Daniels with the shooting questions. Even Amon Thompson, the shooting questions, although I'm super high on him. Koulibaly, maybe you make an argument for a couple guys over him too. But overall, I don't hate the list. Like, Mathurin's played really well. I'd probably consider putting him over, but it is, to this point in his career, a little bit of an anomaly statistically. I don't think it's that much of an anomaly to what the player he is though, to be fair. With that being said, that is going to do it for this video. I hope y'all did enjoy. I hope y'all enjoyed the longer video. If you watched this whole thing, you're a god, and I really appreciate you. Leave me a comment and let me know you watched the whole video, because that would be pretty cool to hear. And I hope y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.